A shocking tragedy has shaken Hollywood and stunned fans around the world after reports emerged that legendary filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner and his wife were found dead inside their Southern California home. The incident unfolded in the upscale Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles, a place known for privacy, celebrity estates, and quiet streets. What authorities discovered inside the home has now triggered a high-profile homicide investigation, raising disturbing questions about what led to the couple's deaths and who may be responsible. Rob Reiner was widely regarded as Hollywood royalty, rising to fame in the 1970s as a cast member on the groundbreaking television series All in the Family. Reiner later cemented his legacy behind the camera. His directing credits included iconic films such as When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men, the latter earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. Even in recent years, Reiner remained active in the industry, making guest appearances and continuing to shape film and television. On Sunday afternoon, that remarkable career came to a tragic end. At approximately 3:30 p.m., the Los Angeles Fire Department received a call requesting medical assistance at the Reiner residence. When emergency responders arrived, they encountered a horrifying scene. Both Rob Reiner, 78, and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, 68, were pronounced dead inside the home. The couple had been married for decades and shared 3 children together. As news of their deaths spread, police quickly secured the property, blocking off access to the home as investigators began their work. Neighbors looked on in disbelief as crime scene tape surrounded the mansion. At first, official information from the Los Angeles Police Department was limited. Authorities confirmed only that robbery-homicide detectives had been called to the scene and that a death investigation was underway. Despite the lack of official confirmation, details began leaking to the media through various outlets. Some reports claimed the couple had suffered violent injuries, though police declined to comment on the nature of the wounds. According to sources cited by entertainment news organizations, the Reiners were allegedly found with fatal throat injuries. These claims, however, were not immediately verified by law enforcement. Adding to the heartbreak, reports indicated that the couple's adult daughter was the person who discovered their bodies. That detail alone intensified public sympathy and raised further questions about the timeline of events leading up to the discovery. Authorities have not publicly detailed when the deaths may have occurred, stating only that such information would be released once it became legally appropriate. The LAPD held a tense exchange with reporters outside the home, emphasizing that no suspect had officially been identified at that time. Police explained that procedural requirements, including securing search warrants, limited how quickly they could release information. Officials stressed that not naming a suspect did not mean the investigation was stalled, only that legal standards had to be met before moving forward. As investigators worked behind the scenes, tributes began pouring in from across Hollywood. Fellow actors, directors, and industry veterans shared memories of Reiner's generosity, talent, and influence. One longtime friend wrote that he had spoken with Reiner just hours before his death, describing him as thoughtful, warm, and full of ideas about future projects. While Hollywood mourned, a darker narrative was beginning to take shape. Media reports suggested that the person potentially responsible for the killings was not an unknown intruder, but someone very close to the family. That revelation would soon shift the focus of the investigation in a deeply unsettling direction. As investigators continued examining the Brentwood crime scene, new developments began to emerge that dramatically altered public understanding of the case. While police maintained a cautious stance, multiple media outlets reported that a member of the Reiner family had become the central focus of the investigation. These reports suggested that the couple's adult son was allegedly taken into custody in connection with the deaths. According to sources cited by several major news organizations, the Reiner's son was arrested and booked into a Los Angeles jail, where he was reportedly being held on multi-million-dollar bail. At the time of those reports, the LAPD had not issued an official statement confirming the arrest, further fueling speculation and confusion. Still, the consistency of the reporting suggested that authorities had made significant progress in identifying a suspect. The possibility that the alleged perpetrator was a family member sent shockwaves through the public. Cases involving domestic violence are always deeply troubling, but incidents involving high-profile families tend to draw even greater scrutiny. Law enforcement experts noted that crimes occurring within the home often point investigators toward individuals with direct access to the property. Attention soon turned to the background of the Reiner's son, who had largely stayed out of the public eye in recent years. Past interviews revealed that he had struggled for much of his life with substance abuse and instability. In a previous media interview, he openly discussed entering rehabilitation programs at a young age and experiencing periods of homelessness across several states. Despite those struggles, he had once collaborated creatively with his father. He co-wrote a film that explored themes of addiction and recovery, drawing partially from personal experiences. At the time, he described the project as deeply meaningful, though he also acknowledged that his life had been marked by repeated setbacks. Investigators have not publicly linked those past struggles to the alleged crime, but experts say such history is often examined closely during homicide investigations. Detectives typically analyze patterns of behavior, recent interactions, and potential sources of conflict. Reports suggested that an argument may have occurred inside the residence prior to the deaths, though police have not confirmed that claim. During a press interaction, officers emphasized the importance of due process. They explained that before conducting a full search of the residence, investigators were required to obtain legal authorization, especially since the initial reporting party did not reside at the home. This procedural step, while frustrating to the public, is critical to ensuring that evidence is admissible in court. Former law enforcement officials commenting on the case explained that early stages of a homicide investigation focus on securing the scene, preserving evidence, and identifying potential suspects through interviews and forensic analysis. Surveillance footage, digital records, and physical evidence such as fingerprints and DNA all play a role in building a case. As these details emerged, Hollywood continued to reflect on Rob Reiner's immense legacy. Colleagues described him as a filmmaker who challenged himself creatively and supported others generously. His wife, Michelle, was remembered as a talented photographer whose work quietly influenced numerous creative projects. Behind the tributes, however, the investigation pressed on. Authorities faced the difficult task of separating fact from rumor while managing intense media pressure. With a suspect reportedly in custody and forensic analysis underway, the case appeared to be moving toward a critical next phase. With reports indicating that a suspect had been arrested, the focus of the case shifted from discovery to accountability. Legal experts emphasized that an arrest does not signify the end of an investigation. Instead, it marks the beginning of a lengthy legal process aimed at determining what happened inside the Reiner home and whether the evidence can support criminal charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Prosecutors will now review all available evidence, including forensic findings, witness statements, and any recorded interviews. One key issue will be intent. Investigators must determine whether the killings were premeditated or the result of a sudden confrontation. The presence or absence of a weapon brought to the scene, as opposed to one taken from inside the home, could prove significant in establishing motive and planning. Another critical aspect involves forensic injuries. In violent attacks, investigators often look for defensive wounds on victims, as well as injuries on a suspect that could indicate a struggle. DNA evidence recovered from fingernails, clothing, or weapons can play a decisive role in confirming or refuting allegations. Public reaction to the case has been intense. Many have questioned how such a tragedy could occur within a family that appeared successful and close-knit from the outside. Experts caution against drawing conclusions based on appearances, noting that domestic conflicts often remain hidden until they escalate. Law enforcement officials also face scrutiny over how information has been released. Some critics argue that inconsistent communication allowed speculation to dominate early coverage. Others counter that police must balance transparency with the integrity of an ongoing investigation. Prematurely releasing details can compromise witness testimony or taint a potential jury pool. As the case unfolds, mental health and addiction have become part of the broader discussion. Specialists note that while substance abuse may provide context, it does not excuse violent behavior. Any defense strategy referencing addiction would still need to address the physical evidence and circumstances of the alleged crime. Meanwhile, tributes to Rob and Michelle Reiner continue. Prominent figures across entertainment, science, and politics have shared messages honoring Reiner's humanitarian values and creative achievements. Many described him as a person deeply concerned with social issues and the well-being of others. For now, investigators remain tight-lipped, releasing only what is legally permissible. Court proceedings, if and when formal charges are filed, are expected to draw national attention. The case underscores how quickly admiration and celebration can turn.